Change within the next minute the assignment submission to KB files instead of just MP4.
Which assignment?
So like for milestone, we have like MKB file submit.
MKB.
I don't know. It's only accepting MP4.
Yeah,
and I want to get it
MP4
uploaded in the next minute.
Okay. Good luck, but I think you're late. What's up? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another week of EECS 440. This is going to be your final week until spring break, okay? You are almost there. You'll have a long, nice period to relax. You will have nothing to do for your EECS 440 course over that spring break period. Unless you want to get started and do your film, your Culture 3 film during that period. You can do that if you want, okay? The P2 milestone was just due a few moments ago. I hope that went well for you. If it didn't, hopefully it was just some tiny stuff. You can get cleaned up. Otherwise, come talk to me. Come talk to me in office hours. A lot of P2 milestone was done in course, okay? Kind of in lecture, all right? I saw a lot of people watching the lecture recording, which is exactly what it's for. But you should know that on P2 Alpha, you're not going to have quite as much help, okay? Fortunately, a lot of the tasks that you need to do on P2 Alpha, number one, you're going to have a lot more time to do it, okay? This isn't a 7-day sprint. This is a 16-day sprint. And that actually doesn't include the week in the middle for spring break. So you've basically got over 3 weeks. But in reality, we only want you to work for a little bit over 2 weeks, okay? Want you to take that spring break off completely. Fortunately as well, a lot of the things you're going to be doing on P2 Alpha are kind of sort of extensions of things you did on P2 milestone. And so you're going to have, if we take a look, you're going to have new tasks dedicated to the planting of trees, okay? You're going to need to visualize trees both in interaction mode and on that exploration map mode, okay? You're going to need to add some more UI. You're going to need to add UI that shows the player different variables, okay? For instance, currency, right? When you go to buy seeds, how much currency do you have to do so? You're going to need a seed shop, which is more UI that you'll have pop up, and the player can purchase more seeds so that they can plant stuff, as well as purchase more acorns to fend off squirrels, okay? You'll need to do some tasks that are a little bit tricky. One of my favorite tasks is the compass. So when you are in Pokemon Go, when you're in any map app, you'll always have a compass there to basically point out which way is north. Super useful for orienting yourself as a user. This is one of my favorite tasks because you can complete this task in one line of code if you know what you're doing, okay? And for people who already know Unity, it's not super hard to know what that one line of code is. But we still have some hints for you in case you get lost. One of the hardest tasks in the entire project is the orbit camera task. This is a task where basically you can swipe, okay? You can swipe, let me see here. I think I can show this to you. Yeah, look at this, right? So you can swipe. You can click and drag, and you can get the camera to move up and down and side to side in this nice orbiting view, okay? This is a very difficult task because most of my students have forgotten all of their trig, like completely all of it. So you will be refamiliarizing yourself with what cosine and sine are good for on this task. And fortunately, we have some nice hint documents here to kind of push you in the right direction so you don't burn up too much of your time, okay? And so a lot of these tasks, right, they are a bit more involved. You do not want to start this assignment late, but you're going to have a lot of time. You've got a lot of hints to help you out. You're not going to have a whole lot of recorded video, though, okay? But you will have a little bit of a recorded video today. Our main objective today is going to be to help you figure out how to launch acorns out of the camera and to detect collisions between your launched acorns and a squirrel game object, okay? So collisions and instantiation, prefabs, rigid bodies and velocity, these are things you don't have a whole lot of experience and time with yet. But we're going to help you. We're going to help you through that part, okay? And then you can take it to the end. So should be a pretty nice couple weeks. Not super hard, but not super easy either. And then you're going to get to spend that final week, that P2 Gold week, polishing everything up, getting it very nice for your portfolio, and then adding a custom feature of your choice, okay, and a custom avatar as well. So that's what we're going to do today. But first, I've got a company for you, okay? And actually, first, we should just take a quick look at your schedule. So you are beginning P2 Alpha today. You just turned in P2 Milestone. Make sure you're doing that JIRA site, okay? Make sure you're doing that P2 project management assignment. And keeping that all up to date, right? You've got all your tasks on there. You're dragging those tasks over. You've got your sprints going. You're logging time, hopefully. And on Wednesday, we're going to launch your Culture 3, okay? It's going to be a new film. I wonder if any of you can guess what film it's going to be based on the films we've already seen. We have seen a lot of Hollywood, big-budget Hollywood flicks in this course. I promise you it will not last forever, okay? We will eventually go a little bit more indie, all right? We will watch at least one film that is not particularly mainstream, and so you can look forward to that, and yeah, you can think about what film is next, okay? So on Wednesday, we will not have lecture. We will have a XR film. Okay, if you can't join us, you can watch that on your own if you want to and write an essay. It's going to probably be difficult to get a room on Wednesday. I'm going to try, but there's a chance due to exams that we all end up back here, like crowded around these TVs. We turn all the lights off, like it might not actually be that bad. It might be all right. But we'll see what happens, okay? We will see what happens. Okay. So I've got a company for you. This is a Pixo VR. This is a Royal Oak-based company. I love to talk about our local companies. This is a firm that was recently purchased, actually. They were acquired, I think. No, wait, were they? No, Vector Form. We'll talk about them later, was purchased. I don't think Pixo has been purchased yet. Right in their logo, you can see that it says XR Made Simple. We can go to their website here. This is a company that is actually one of the companies that kind of inspired this course to be created a couple of years ago. This is a company that specializes in the creation of first responder training visualizations, okay, and simulations. Pixo, winning reality. Partner with Pixo. What does that even mean? When we click on that, you get to say what you're interested in. Okay, implementing VR training, creating custom VR training content, using the platform to distribute my own XR content. So they are a kind of hybrid startup that has done a lot of stuff. They will produce visualizations and simulations for you, but they will also basically let you use their platform to distribute things. So you can write software that works with their platform. I think you get a bunch of free assets. You get a bunch of automatic online multiplayer and stuff like that. They are an Unreal Engine-based company. They do basically everything in Unreal from what I can tell. Or wait, is it Unreal or maybe it's Unity? I forget. But Yeah, so let's see here, right? Enhance your clients' training program to do better, be better, and win, right? The idea is, hey, your workforce is going to be better educated. They're going to be much more quickly and cheaply trained, and so you'll be able to outcompete your opponents in this fashion. They have a bunch of companies here, a bunch of industrial companies, Bayer, Ford, right, Nicor, Consumers Energy, a lot of these local companies. Okay, and it's hard to say. It's hard to say exactly what Pixo's relationship with all these companies are, because again, you have to be careful, right? They list the Olympics as a partner, right? We're helping these companies win at work, but that doesn't tell you a whole lot. Okay, does that mean they just had a call with each other or a meeting, right? Oh, this sounds interesting. Yeah, we'll give you 30 minutes, right? And then they throw the logo up here. It's very hard to say. Drive accountability and performance with multiple levels of ownership, content access, and analytics. One big thing for corporations and gigantic institutions is management of permissions. So maybe there's certain things, certain assets, certain training modules you don't want everyone to have access to. Also data, okay? Analytics, right? You want the ability to track how people have done. So you've got 100 employees training, going through some module. Which are the ones who are really doing a good job? Okay, are we training them better this year than we did last year? That stuff is super important for big corporations, which are the main customer of this company. Okay, blah 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 blah. The benefits of VR powered by RI learning. Blah blah blah. 4 times faster to train. 2.75 times more confident. I have no idea what this means or how you measure this. 3.75% more connected. Again, I wish I could click on this and see a white paper or something. 4 times more focused and more cost effective. Don't ask me how much more. It's more, okay? So I hate to sound kind of skeptical or cynical. I visited them in Royal Oak, and I think they're a very good company. They've been around for a long time. But when you see this kind of stuff, you just have to take it very skeptically, okay? And if you ever find yourself in the shoes of an investor, or you are looking at acquisitions or someone to partner with because you work for a big company or a big org like a university, know that you should really, really not take these kind of numbers at face value. The companies that put these numbers up there know that the people vetting them don't have a whole lot of time. An investor is probably going to be thinking about not just one company to invest in, but hundreds. And so they won't really have time to read a research paper on their methodology and how these numbers were acquired and all that stuff. But so anyway, module builder, hub app. You can manage permissions. You can track progress. You can deploy VR experiences, integrate data. I assume different models and assets and materials and stuff. Blah, 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 blah. They've got tools. They got a platform for distribution. Cool. So where are the videos, huh? I want to see the videos. Okay, VR content training catalog. Okay, workplace safety. What does this mean? Okay, we got people working on top of a building, it looks like. Fall protection. That sounds pretty exciting. Here we go. Yeah, very dramatic. So these aren't very long videos, but they do seem to have a video and a bunch of details for every module that they've created, which is super cool. I assume you can just get these. You can just sign up and use them plug and play style. Do I have a video? Oh, I thought I had a cool video for them. Anyway, these simulations, these training simulations, they are multiplayer by default. You can get in there with an instructor. Okay, and you can start learning very quickly so long as you have a headset. It looks like it works with a lot of headsets. Oculus Quest 1, 2, Pro, Rift, not 3, I guess, unless they haven't updated this. Pico Neo, I've not heard of that. HTC Vive, Focus, okay. HP Omnicept, Lenovo VRX. Okay, maybe I'll show you one more. First responders, what do we got? Okay, first aid. Okay, operations hazmat suit. That sounds cool. Let's take a look. So pretty cool stuff, right? And a lot of the benefits we talked about on I think the first day of the course, right, are visible here, right? You can randomize things in a digital space, right, to prevent people from just memorizing the steps in a textbook. You can track them, right? You can see how they're doing over time. You can do a lot of things that just aren't really possible with the traditional means of education, with a textbook or with videos, okay? So pretty interesting stuff. Okay, so Pixo, very cool company, and hopefully they're around for a long time, and they continue to do a good job. Okay. All right, some announcements. Thank you to Andy for sending this my way. But you saw Apple's Unity clone, right? Now they call it Reality Composer Pro. It's not a game engine; it's a reality engine. Okay, Apple is way above games; those are just toys for children. But Meta, not to be outdone, Meta has developed their own love letter to Unity. Does this look similar to anyone else? Okay, you've got your hierarchy over here. You've got an assets pane. It's not the project pane; it's the assets pane. Okay, this is very distinct. When you click on something on the left, one of the game objects, you can look on the right to see its properties. One interesting thing, I've never used this software before, but if you look at the interface, it appears that you can only attach one script to a game object at a time. And that actually is fairly different from Unity. Okay, that is very similar to how Godot handles it. All right. But in any case, you can see the classic properties: position, rotation, scale. This is a matrix that my game engine architecture students are studying right now. Anyway, yeah, you got the play buttons on the top. You got all this good stuff. What can I say? One of the big things we learn in game engine architecture is that all game engines have these kind of universal elements to them, okay? And it really does kind of boost one's morale to know that, like, this semester, again, you're not just learning Unity, you're not just learning Unreal. You want to know game engines in general, okay? And yeah, after this course, you'll find that what used to take you months to learn, only going to take you a few days to get comfy with a new engine, okay? So please look forward to that. And in any case, Meta has a lot of money just like Apple does. I'm not sure why they didn't just purchase Unity, aside from possibly antitrust scrutiny. So anyway, cool. They built this. If you're curious why they built this, I asked Andy, what is the name of this? Apple has their funny name for their clone. Andy told me that this is the content creator for Horizon Worlds. So Horizon Worlds, the kind of sort of failed VR chat clone, has its own version of Unity that allows you to author content for it, which is interesting, right? You can tell the company and Mr. Zuckerberg really want this to work, but wanting something to work and making it work are two very different things. So I wish them the best. Technology is a very, very interesting thing. How do we get people into digital spaces to have really meaningful conversations and interactions? This is a team that managed to hack up basically a way to put a human realistically into Minecraft. And I don't mean as a virtual avatar, okay? This is done without any mods as well. Let's take a look.
That's just visual. We have them in Minecraft, but you can't actually do anything. In order for them to interact with the world, we needed to know where their hands and feet were, so using AI technology, 44090 GPUs, and lots of code, boom, we have skeletons. Now we have the hands, the feet, the head, etc., full body tracking without them wearing anything. They still don't do anything, but we know where they are. And I want to be able to be Steve. Steve doesn't have control over just his hands. So because we have their body parts location, and we also know exactly how much time is taken between photos, we have the distance their hand moved, and the amount of time it took them to move that distance. So we can do this cool little graphic where we're displaying the exact meters per second of my hands moving, which just on its own is flipping awesome. That means we can now detect when you want to punch or kick without any buttons, because if it's over a certain speed, we have it do damage, and if it's not, then it does not. If you actually want to interact with things in game, though, you obviously need a way to see. How about the smallest VR headset in the world, custom fit to our face to be the smallest it can be? Yeah, that works, I guess. But now, I wanted you to just have to walk in real life to move, so we put together a massive rig of omnidirectional wheels that carries the cameras, the PCs, batteries, lights, and a very creative system to track the rotation of the rig and keep track of the movement of the person that's inside. That way, we can always display them in game, have the cameras we follow them wherever they walk or run, and allow them to move with no control, just by walking. Now, you do have limited space, technically, even though we slapped the rig in a massive basketball court. But when you jump, we can spin, but also make it look like it didn't. So without anyone even noticing in the game or you looking any different, you have more space again. Oh yeah, the lights dynamically change to match where you are in game. So if you're in a cave, you look darker, etc. And if you think all this sounds complicated, I promise you, it's 100 times more complicated than you're imagining, and 100 times more complicated than I just described. But, alas, in game, you can move, you can see, and you can interact with the world, all as if you're Steve. Well, then, of course, came the gameplay features. As you can see, we added name tags, height detection for jumping and sneaking, and then we had to code it so if you walk off the edge of a block while sneaking, it stops you. Or, of course, if you walk into a wall, it also stops. We made it so when you move, it's like you're a player in the world. You have the physics. There's ice on the ground, you slide, there's slime, you bounce, there's nothing, you fall, all that good stuff. Of course, to break a block, you punch it. The faster your punches, the more damage it does. Every feature you had to manually add, because it does not exist for having a human in Minecraft.
Okay, so what I want to point out here, right, and what makes this amazing, here we have something that is really, really, really unique, okay? Something that most people will have not really seen before. And this is the kind of thing that tends to appear when you've got people with a very diverse skill set, or at least you've got a team with a very diverse set of skills. Because you've got here not just a software innovation, but you've got a very big hardware one as well, okay? Being able to hack this kind of thing up and actually get it working effectively, even if it takes a while, is the kind of thing that I'd say most software engineers just can't really do. How many of you have ever made something even half as kind of intricate as this? I'm thinking to myself, how on earth are they like keeping the power supply connected? Because they've got a laptop up here, they've got all sorts of lights and cameras, like not cheap on power supply, okay? How are they keeping the cables if they're getting power out of the sides of outlets on the walls? How are they keeping the cables from bunching up and getting run over and tangled and stuff like that? So anyway, super impressive stuff. And but what I would recommend you here, there was a discussion I was reading about on the topic of game design the other day, and I agree with it. It's one that I've heard before. If you take someone who their entire life all they've done is played games, often that person is going to kind of struggle as a game designer, right? A lot of the most interesting and impactful game designs have come from people who don't play a ton of video games, but what they do is they go out there and have a lot of their own interesting life experiences, often experiences that aren't shared with that many other people, okay? Or at the very least, they have the ability to design games. They also have a unique experience, and there are very few other people who have that overlap, okay? So they can be the ones who create the really interesting new game designs. Same thing with technical innovations as well. There are a lot of people who are really into hardware. There are a lot of people who are really into software. How many people are really, really good and into both? And that's a smaller Venn diagram, okay? Anyway, so keep that in mind, and if you ever need an excuse to go learn something new that isn't just programming or software, do it. Eventually, you'll get a job, or you'll get to a place in life where you do have some extra time, probably, and some extra money. And so think about that, okay? And then the last thing I'll show you, oh yes, very sad. So while other parts of XR are moving forward, Microsoft is kind of sort of throwing in the towel. Their mixed reality platform that powers the blue headsets that you can check out for this course is going bye-bye. It's being removed from Windows. So it's unclear how much longer our blue course headsets will be useful because they could be paperweights soon. We'll have to see. But in any case, Microsoft is one of those companies that launched in trying to kind of build its own platform, its own hardware, its own software, and they got beat. They got beat bad by Meta. Now Apple's here. They say, okay, we're going to sit this one out, all right? And so maybe they'll be back one day, maybe not. Okay, and the last thing I'll show you, the Vision Pro is struggling in terms of sales. You know, a $3,500 headset is going to struggle pretty much no matter what. But the actual hardware itself and what you can do with it is fairly impressive. So I made an app that lets you see the matrix. The thing to notice here is just how quickly and just how high quality the geometry and edge detection and surface detection is. When you use your phones on this P2, you're going to notice that it's not super great at detecting walls and corners and tables and desktops and floor. It messes up sometimes. And if it messes up, when you go to throw an acorn, it might go through or it might bounce off something it shouldn't, right? So here you can see that in great detail, the Apple Vision Pro is excellent at mapping out a 3D space. We'll talk a little bit more about how it does this later on in the course. But it's very impressive stuff. Do any of you remember when smartphones first came out? And basically everyone was downloading apps that let you like pretend to drink something by holding it up to your face. There were a lot of apps that were very gimmicky, a lot of apps that were cool, a novelty party trick, right? They showed you some of the capabilities of the device, but they weren't really useful. This is definitely that, okay? Now, the hope is that in the same way that smartphones eventually evolved to have a host of ultra-useful apps, hopefully these headsets will continue evolving and eventually have their own suite of killer apps. But as it stands, it is cool to have these novelty apps as well, all right? Okay, so what I want to do today, the main mission that we have, and it might not take us all the way to 3:20, okay? In fact, I think we'll probably end and maybe we can do some office hours or something, some extra office hours. But what we're going to do today is I'm going to walk you through one more task from your P2 Alpha, okay? This is one of the more involved tasks, and it's going to involve spawning an acorn and launching it out into space, out into the seed, and then detecting when it hits a squirrel, okay, and despawning the squirrel. And so let me remind you of kind of the status of our project in the past, okay? The last time that we had this project, we had something like this. Okay. And I can walk around and I can mess with my buttons down here. And I can click on any button I want, okay? Well, if I click it in the interaction mode, it shouldn't do anything, or the map mode. If I go to the map mode, oh, interesting. Why is it not doing anything? It was doing stuff, wasn't it? Yeah, what's the situation? I wonder what got messed up. Are there any errors? There are some. I'm wondering if, yeah. So let's check this, actually. So we're clicking on this stuff. Click on Palm 62, okay? So let's see how this error appears. In order for us to see the error, I'm going to pause, change our game view from maximize to focus. I do this so that I can watch my console, okay? Click, okay, and it immediately breaks. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. So this is a null error, okay? One of our variables is null, and we have to figure out which one it is. Now, thankfully, if you ever get an error like this, what you can do is you can double-click on it, or you can go down to the blue text, click the hyperlink, and you'll go exactly to the line you want. So in this case, right, 62 in Canvas. So let's go ahead and click on that. Okay, 62. Okay, so it's trying to find the tree manager. Okay, the tree manager isn't here. It just doesn't exist. I wonder if I didn't save it or something. Is there a tree manager that exists? Tree manager object? No, there's not. There is a component. So we need to create a tree manager. So let's go ahead and go tree manager. I'm going to add the tree manager component to it. Yeah, I think maybe I just didn't save at the end there last lecture. Okay, so go ahead, boop, and boop. So now when I go to interaction mode, boop, boop, to spawn stuff, and good. Okay, awesome. Very good. So what I want to do right away is I want to create one more button for the acorns. Okay, we got all those nice tree seeds, but I want a cool acorn image. So let's go ahead and Google for that real quick. Now, on a commercial project, you probably shouldn't be doing this, all right? But it is fine for now. You can grab whatever acorn image you like. I'm going to go ahead and just grab this one, okay? And I'm going to save it, acorn, okay? Now let's go ahead and drag it in to our project. Seed icons, yeah, I'll throw it in with the seed icons. It's kind of strange to do that, but it's fast. Okay, dragging it in, boop, just like that. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and switch it to a sprite, just like all the other images. Okay, good, good, good. So now what I want to do is I want to go in and I want to add to our inventory canvas. I want to go in and I want to add another button. Okay, so copy and paste. We've got that button now. I'm going to take that new button. Okay, I'm going to take the new button and I'm going to go ahead and give it the acorn sprite. So it's second there in our list. I want it to be first in our list. And good, we now have a button for our acorns. However, it's not hooked up to anything yet. We need to give it a function that it can call in order to spawn an acorn. So I'm going to go ahead and go public void, click on acorn. Okay, let's go and check how many acorns we have remaining. Okay, I'm going to call this acorns remaining. Okay, and then we'll go, hey, if acorns remaining is larger than 0, we want to do something. Okay, so what should we do? Well, acorns has to go down by 1. Okay, minus equals 1. By the way, yeah, we should set how many acorns you start with. Per the game's design, I believe you start with 0. I believe that's what the assignment spec tells you to do. So acorn is going to start with 0, you know, if we have acorns, we're going to go ahead and click the button, and hopefully that number will go down. Okay, boop, boop, awesome. Wait a second, did the other one go down as well? Did Magnolia go down? Oh yes, it did, it did. So, yeah, so I click on the acorn and I lose 1 Magnolia. I click on Magnolia, I lose 1 acorn. So what we need to do here is we need to go and hook that new acorn button up. In fact, I should probably name it inventory button acorn, right? We're going to go ahead and hook it up, not to click on Magnolia, but we're going to click on, let's see here, click on acorn. Awesome. We also need to go into the inventory button and change the seed quantity text so that it represents and shows the acorn quantity instead of the magnolia quantity. Okay? So let's see here. Just verify that this is working properly. Okay. And I'm starting with 0 acorns for some reason. We'll have to see here. So acorn, yep, that's fine. That's fine. Inventory canvas. Oh yeah, it starts with 0. Let's give ourselves like 5 acorns just for testing. Okay? So we do that. And now, well, we need an acorn to spawn. Okay? So good, it's all working. So in your actual P2 project, you don't want to allow the player to spawn acorns anytime. You only want them to be spawning and launching acorns when they're in interaction mode. Because in the game's design, the main purpose for acorns is to throw them at squirrels, okay? And free your tree up to generate resources for you, okay? So we need to go find an acorn model, and what we're going to do, because I'm on laptop, because I can't show you the XR mode, the interaction mode, I'm going to spawn acorns in the map scene, okay? You should not do that, but I'm going to do that, and basically the approach is kind of the same, okay? So let's go ahead and find ourselves an acorn model, okay? A great place to look for any sort of 3D stuff is Sketchfab. You already kind of know that. You've used it a few times in this course. I'm going to go, and this time I'm going to search for an acorn. I'm going to click the little downloadable button right here. And yeah, we'll look for some good acorns. This one I think just looks fantastic, actually. Super realistic. I'm a bit nervous about how heavy this is. And in the past, we've definitely had problems with some of the acorns being kind of hard to import, okay? That one's kind of cool. I kind of like that one. It's kind of a chunky one, okay? Right? Don't need 2 acorns, okay? This acorn may be a little bit too plain. I like this Ice Age acorn. If any of you have seen that movie with Scrat and all those characters. So we have the Ice Age acorn. Let's see what kind of model formats that I can get here. So the acorn, it looks super nice. Hopefully it won't be too hard to import, but we'll have to see. Very efficient, only 268 triangles. So let's go to download 3D model. So here we don't have an FBX or an OBJ, but we do have a blend, a .blend file. Now this is good enough if you have installed Blender, okay? So if you ever want to use a .blend, what you can do is you can install the Blender software, blender.org, okay? This is the software you'll get really good at using if you take the EECS 298 course next semester. If you have this installed, Blender will work just fine for you. So let's go ahead and download that. And we're going to get this zip file here. So let's go ahead and unzip it. I use 7-zip to do this, but you can use anything you want. Many times, especially Sketchfab models just love this. The model itself will actually be represented by a couple different folders. In the source folder, you'll have acorn.blend, something like that. In the textures folder, you'll have an actual texture that represents the thing. What I like to do is I like to just grab the files and put them all into the same file. Okay, I'm going to throw them both into the textures folder, and then I'm going to rename the textures folder into simply acorn. Okay. Now what I can do is I can come in here. I can go to, let's see, do I have a folder for objects? Let's create a folder for objects here. Okay. Actually, yeah, objects is fine. Let's go ahead and grab that acorn folder and just drag it right in now. Now, if you're lucky, Unity will automatically be able to hook everything up and import the model perfectly, and it will just look amazing. Now, usually this is not the case, okay? Here are some of the nasty issues you can run into when you try and import a model into Unity. Let's go into our folder. You'll notice something right away that looks a bit off. Can anyone tell me what's off about this acorn? Anyone? It's a little messed up.
It's just gray.
Yeah, it's just gray, okay? The geometry is here, and the geometry is just fine, okay? The vertices, the edges, the faces that make up the shape of everything, imported just fine. But the material has been messed up, okay? The material did not import just fine. When you look at these imported models, okay, you'll notice there's this little arrow next to it. And if you click that arrow, you can see that within this .blend file, there are a bunch of things actually. There's geometry, there's a camera, okay, there's a light. We're going to have to turn these things off, by the way, because we do not want cameras and lights on all of our acorns that we spawn in, okay? We have an animation even, okay? Now, there's nothing in this animation, and it doesn't move, but it's there. So when I'm looking at this, I feel a little bit of pain because this is a model that was not really set up for use in a game engine, okay? If the EECS 298 student submits this, I'd be very salty, okay? Because it does not look good, but that's okay. In here, we have one final thing, this ball, and that is the material. You can see the material is all messed up. It doesn't look like an acorn should. So we have to fix this material. The problem is that while it's inside of this little asset, I can't do anything to it. So we have to somehow get this material out of this block, and it's actually super easy. You click on the model, you go to the Materials tab, you click on Extract Materials, and boom, okay? This ball is now outside of the asset, so I can mess with it. All right, let's go ahead and throw down an acorn and just see how it looks, okay? Where's our player at? Right here. Here's our little player, so we can get a feel for how big our acorn is. I'm going to drag the acorn out. Look at that, okay? Our acorn is way too tiny, way too tiny. It also has a camera associated with it and a light. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to get rid of this camera. I'm going to get rid of this light, all right? I'm going to go and make this acorn bigger. I could make it bigger by just changing the scale, right, to make it bigger, but I don't want to do that because there's a better way. I'm going to go to the original model, go to Model, and we're going to import with a higher scale factor. So let's go 5. The model will be 5 times bigger than it used to be, and that actually looks pretty good, okay? I like that a lot. So it's about the same size as our player. And so this is really good. Now, we need to fix up this material because I don't want this acorn to just be white like this. It doesn't look super good. It doesn't look like an acorn. It looks like a piece of snow, okay? So I'm going to click on this little sphere, and I can start messing with some of the material properties that we see on the right. Do you remember what materials were like in Unreal Engine? It was like this big bar, this vertical bar, and you had to plug data into it, right? Well, it's kind of the same way here, except your big vertical bar is now in the inspector, and there are a lot of things we can plug in and we can click on and tweak. So for instance, the albedo, the color, right? I can tint the whole thing red if I want to, or I can plug in a PNG, a map, just like how you saw in Unreal. Textures, 2D big arrays of color. I'm going to drag this right in, this texture, and then boom, look at that. This looks 1,000 times better already. But there is a problem. Have you ever seen a super shiny acorn? And when it is shiny, usually it's like the bottom, right? The super smooth bottom, not the top, okay? So I still have things I need to do, okay? I'm going to go into that material and I'm going to play around with some other properties. Should I make it look really metallic? No, because it's not a metallic acorn. Should I make it more smooth like this or less? Right? This right here with no smoothness looks very acorn-like. Looks fantastic, okay? And with that, we're basically done importing our acorn. I'm actually going to drag the acorn in, and this will be our finished acorn prefab, okay? You can tell the difference between these two. One of them brings up the model import settings, and the other brings up components, which is what you expect, okay? So I can now have as many acorns as I want, and it's all good. All right? So what if you say, well, this acorn, right? This acorn needs to be able to collide with the squirrel. So we should probably go and get a squirrel too, right? So let's actually go and do that real quick, and we won't take too much time. I'll move much faster if I can. I won't explain things as much. Let's go find ourselves a downloadable squirrel, okay? Any good squirrels, okay? Free squirrels, boop, boop, boop. This one right here. This one maybe, I don't know. Oh, this one is super adorable. It's a squirrel balloon. I love it, okay? Let's see if we can download this. There's an FBX. Fantastic. That's exactly what the doctor ordered. So let's go ahead and open this up. Zip file. Open. Extract. Medium squirrel balloon. It has a source folder, and it just has one little FBX. No textures. It must be embedded. So I'm going to go ahead and just call this a squirrel. And I'm going to drag that folder right in, okay? Just like last time, drag the entire folder in, let Unity import it. Hopefully it does a good job. This squirrel is way too small, okay? Way too small. Okay, and it also actually doesn't have a material. So we're going to actually have to go and create and add on our own material, which shouldn't be too hard. It just needs to be brown, basically, right? Yep, maybe it needs a different material for the eyes. But this squirrel's way too tiny. So we're going to go ahead and try and give it that same scale of 5. That's still too tiny, okay? I want a bigger, more formidable squirrel, okay? And so there we go. Now we've got a big, chunky squirrel. I'm going to make it even bigger still, actually, because I just want it to be a very nice, juicy target so that we will be less likely to miss when we launch our acorns at it. Now we have to figure out this material, okay? I don't think it has any materials. Yeah, so we cannot extract any. But if we look at this object, this game object that we just brought in, okay, when we look inside of it, we can see that there are all of these different objects. There's one for the eyes, okay? I can make the eyes go away by turning it off and on and off and on. Okay, there's one for the entire body, okay? It looks like there is one for the nose, okay? And it looks like there's one for the, what on earth is that? Is that like a, yeah, I have no idea what that thing is. What on earth? Oh, it's a balloon. It's the little, oh yeah, it's the little nub for the balloon. Okay, that's adorable. In any case, we need to create our own materials for all 4 of these different parts of the object. If you look, the eyes and the nose just have a kind of basic black material, very shiny though, okay, very smooth. And on the bottom, and the body, it's a brown material. So let's go ahead and create those, okay? I'm going to create a balloon black material. Okay. And let's just go ahead and give it pure black, and I'm going to drag that right onto the eyes like that. I'm going to drag it onto the nose as well. Then I'm going to try and make this as smooth as I can, okay? Buttery smooth, not metallic though, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and create a balloon. Let's see here. Balloon brown. Okay, let's get brown in here. Okay, brown's kind of like over here. Yeah, kind of like that. I'll drag it on. Okay, that looks really nice. On the bottom, though, we got to fix this part. Okay, so sometimes you get materials, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get textures, sometimes you don't. And so often you have to just kind of make your own. Okay, okay, I made this very smooth. Maybe not that smooth. Maybe it should be like this smooth, something like that. Okay, and I'll make the black texture a bit less smooth. That looks pretty good, right? This is a reasonable match for the model that we have in our web render here. You might say it even looks a little bit better, but so good. We now have our squirrel, okay? Now we're going to take this little squirrel that we've made, okay, and we're going to drag it in here, actually, I want to rename this. I'm going to name this just squirrel. Okay? And so now I can have as many squirrels as I want. Great. Okay. So, what are we going to do here? When we play the game, I wonder what happens. Do we see these things? Do they look good when the game is running? Let's see. Okay, yeah, I'd say they actually look really good. Okay? And so, if you think about it, what is our mission now? Well, one mission is that we don't want this acorn to just be chilling out here. Okay? When I press this acorn button, I want an acorn to spawn. I want to create a new acorn, and then I want to actually launch it right out of the screen so that it hits the squirrel. Okay? So we need to get these acorns spawning in, and we have to get them moving. All right? So, yeah, how are we going to do that? Well, one thing we could start with is say, hey, neither of these objects can effectively move unless they have a rigid body. Now, that's not always true, because if you remember, our player pawn actually moves by adjusting the transform component manually. But rigid bodies are quite a bit more fun, okay? And we really want nice physics. We want our acorn to go flying. We want it to bump into things. And so, let's go and give our acorn a rigid body. Now, remember, whenever you change an instance of a prefab, okay, we just changed this instance by giving it a rigid body. The normal acorn prefab does not have that, okay? It doesn't have anything except the transform. So when we want to push our change, like adding a rigid body onto an instance, when we want to push that instance change onto the prefab so that every instance gets it, we can go up to this prefab button, or this overrides button, click on Apply All. Now, every acorn we put out here will also have a rigid body, or at least it should. Okay, let's see here. Rigid body, yep, this acorn has it. Okay, does this acorn have it? Yep, it's got it. It's got it. Cool, good. So, in addition to a rigid body, we want this to be able to collide with our squirrel. So we need to give it a collider of some sort. Otherwise, it will be able to move, but it won't be able to bump into things, okay? So, collider. Search for collider and see what comes up. We've got this object, this kind of sort of a sphere. And so a sphere collider would basically be perfect for us. And so I added the sphere collider, but there's a problem. If you go inside of the acorn, you can see that actually it is just super, super small. Okay? So this collision is going to look really bad if we leave it like this. Fortunately, we can go and we can make that bigger. Okay? We can make it bigger like this, but we can also shift it. See, it's kind of dominating the top half of the acorn. I want to lower our collider like that and make this a little bit wider. Nice. That looks really good, I think. It's a pretty good fit. So again, be careful about making changes to an instance without fixing it on the prefab. We have to go to overrides and then apply all if we want our prefab to have the collider as well. Okay? And so we've now got our acorn. Now I want to do a test here. I'm going to kind of bring our acorn up here, and I'm going to let it fall. It should have gravity, so I'm going to let it fall, and I'm going to watch how it hits the squirrel. Okay? Ready? Okay, let's go ahead and watch. And here we go. And it's going down, and it's going down, and it goes straight through the squirrel. Okay, that's not what we wanted. It is a good start. But the issue we face here is that our squirrel, too, needs to have a collider, okay, if it is going to be possible to run into it. So what kind of collider should we give it? The squirrel, at least our squirrel, kind of has a spherical shape, but kind of has a boxy shape. I'm probably going to give it a box collider, okay? I'll give it a box collider this time. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, actually, it's kind of an awkward shape. Let's make the box collider a little bit bigger, see if we can make it fit a little bit better. Okay, it's kind of coming up here, kind of going out like this. Okay, going to raise it a little bit. Okay, is that a good fit? That's a pretty good fit, I think. maybe it's a little bit too tall. Okay, like that kind of, all right? Okay, and so let's go ahead and push this to the squirrel prefab, okay, like this, apply all. And let's go ahead and run the game again. I'm going to move both of these over so it's a bit easier for us to see. And let's see what happens now. Okay, the squirrel comes down and boop, it just kind of sits on top of the acorn. Now, something you could do if you say, well, this doesn't look super good, is you could say, well, I want a more accurate mesh collider instead of a box collider, right? It doesn't look right that the acorn just falls on the squirrel with all of its curved surfaces and it just sits there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this box collider. I'm going to add a mesh collider, okay? And do I need to go convex? I don't think I need to do that. Let's see what happens. Okay, and it comes down. Oh, and it goes straight through, okay? So let's see if maybe our mesh collider isn't quite working. Oh, here's the problem. There is no mesh object for the squirrel, okay? And so we would actually need to put this mesh collider onto all of these layers, okay? Actually, this is the layer I think we care most about, mesh collider, okay? And hopefully it'll be able to find the data, because here's the data, the mesh filter, and it will be able to do its job, okay? So let's run it again and see what happens. Okay, it's going down, 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 and boom, nice. It has a much more realistic collision with the squirrel, okay? Now, depending on the model, right, you might just stick with a box collider, you might stick with a sphere collider. I'm actually going to come in, just to keep it simple, I'm going to remove this mesh collider, and we're actually going to use a sphere collider, okay? The sphere collider is too tiny. Let's make it bigger. Boom, there we go. That should be big enough, but it's not centered properly. Let's go ahead and raise it up like that. Maybe make it a little bit smaller, okay, like this. There we go. Cool. Okay, and we fall, and boop, there we go. Cool, and it rolls off. Awesome. So let's go ahead and push these changes to the prefab. So now every squirrel I spawn will be this way. Now, the collision we're seeing here is realistic, but it's not doing what we want, right? When an acorn hits a squirrel, I believe both should despawn, okay? Or at the very least, the squirrel definitely should, okay? The game design document for this project should kind of, in the hints for the task, should tell you what you need to accomplish here. So, what can we do? Well, if I want to detect when that acorn hits my squirrel, then there is a component that we can write, okay? Let's create a component. Let's call this destroy when touch acorn. Okay? This is a component that will do exactly what its name is. When an acorn touches us, we will destroy. Okay? So how can we detect if an acorn has touched us? Remember those functions, right? On collision enter, on trigger enter. So in this case, we can check what have we touched by using this parameter that Unity will send in so kindly for us. So let's go collision, if collision.gameObject, okay? How are we going to know if a game object is a acorn or not? Anyone know? You remember when we did the onion for the Shrek Rollerball game? What we did was we used a system called the tag system. If we go find our acorn prefab, here it is, okay? Our acorn, oh, I like the, we've got Japanese language text in here. That's kind of cool to see. We have this acorn and it's currently untagged. So I want to tag it, okay? I'm going to create a new tag. I'm going to call this the acorn tag. And then all of our acorns are going to have that tag, all right? And so, we should be able to check, hey, is the thing that touched us, what is its tag? And if it's equal to acorn, then we should destroy not the acorn, but we should destroy ourselves, okay? And there you are, okay? So let's watch that acorn fall from the sky, and let's see what happens, okay? It's coming down, and there it goes. It's gone, okay? And our acorn falls through the floor. All right, cool, very good. So this is exactly what we wanted. We now know that if an acorn touches a squirrel, we're golden. But we still have unfinished business here, okay? We've got unfinished business, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to take our 5-minute break, and then when we come back, we'll finish this off. We'll have some extra time. And we're going to show you how to spawn, how to instantiate these acorns at the camera, and how to give them a velocity direction, a velocity vector that has them going out of the camera, okay? And yeah, so we'll see you in 5, all right? See you then. Wow. From what I can tell, this model will be very difficult to animate. Too many vertices, and the vertices are in places that make things very annoying. You would really, I think this did come in a blend. Okay, was this a blend file? What was it? No, this was an FBX. Well, in any case, let's see. Okay, what do we got? Where is that character? Okay. Okay. Import FBX. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so what do you want me to try and animate? Arms, maybe? Tail? Okay, you know, I'm gonna do belly as well, because kind of chunky. Okay, so we're gonna get belly out there. Everything is so close together. This is kind of tough. Okay, nose. We got a nose going on. Okay. Ear. Oh, brutal. Okay, much better. Okay. Okay. Now let's go to this. How does that look? Whoa. If I was being more efficient, you can actually use the symmetry of the object, except this is not a symmetrical object. So that makes it a little bit tough. Okay. Okay, that's good enough for now. Let's do... Ah! Failed to find solution for one or more bones. Okay, I'll have to fix this later. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead and get back to it. And then if I've got extra time and I can get this working, maybe I will animate something for you. Okay, so our mission here, in just a few minutes, we want to take this acorn, which is already working just fine, and we want to simply be able to spawn it when we click on that button. We want to spawn it and we want to give it a direction for it to move. And so, if you think about this, this logic is all kind of happening on the camera. The camera is where we're going to spawn the acorn at. It's where we're going to get the direction that the acorn should go. So what I'm thinking, and there are many ways you could do this, but what I'm thinking is that I want to create a new component on the main camera. Okay? And you'd probably put this component on the interaction camera. Remember, not the one in the map scene. But what I want to do is I want to create a component. Let's call this the acorn launcher. Okay. This is the Acorn Launcher component. And this Acorn Launcher component is going to launch acorns. All right? If I make a particular call here, actually, you know what? Do we want to do that? Oh, I'm so torn. I don't want to make things complicated for you. Actually, you know what? Let's do something else. Let's make this a little bit more simple. Okay? I'm actually going to get rid of our Acorn Launcher. Okay? Not going to be on the main camera. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go straight to the logic that deals with our button. So in our inventory canvas, okay, we open up our inventory canvas. We're going to find the function that deals with consuming an acorn. You tap the acorn button. What do you want to do with that acorn? Okay, so in here, we're going to subtract the amount of acorns we currently have by 1, but then we're actually going to launch that acorn, okay? Now, what we want to do here, is we want to spawn an acorn. We have to create one first. So let's go game object, new acorn. And now what we're going to need is we're going to need the ability to load that acorn prefab, okay? GameObject.instantiate will create a game object for us, but we have to provide a prefab in here, in that function call. So how can we get into objects and acorn? Well, here's how. I'm going to create another folder. I'm going to call it resources. And I'm going to drag that prefab right in, okay? Now what I can do is I can call resources.load acorn, and it's going to find and load that up right for me. So let's go to resources.load, okay? I want to load a game object, okay? And the path I want to load at is just going to be acorn. I think that's the name, right? Yeah, acorn with a capital A. So this function call will load me up that prefab that we're dealing with right there. And it is going to then spawn it by feeding it into instantiate. Now, once we have this new acorn, we have to decide where is it going to be, okay? So I'm going to go new acorn dot transform dot position. What position do we want to launch the acorn from? Well, we want to launch it from the camera's position, okay? Now, normally, you can get the location of the main camera by doing camera.main.transform.position. Camera.main will give you the camera component on the currently active camera. Sometimes this breaks, however, okay? Sometimes this breaks, so what you might need to do is you might need to create a variable, okay, like a public transform or public game object variable, and actually drag in your camera. If you are in, let me see here. If you are in the interaction scene, let's go to the interaction scene, boom. You don't have a main camera, but what you do have is a camera that is called the AR camera underneath your AR session origin object. This is probably what you need to drag in, okay? But in any case, let's go back to the exploration scene. Okay. So we're going to spawn our new acorn at the camera. Let's test that, okay? I'm going to go and I'm going to run the game. I'm going to click the acorn a couple times. I'm going to click the acorn, and I'm going to move around a little bit. Oh, you can see it, yeah. So the acorn is falling, right? It is falling out of the sky. That's a really good start, okay? Super good start. But I'll say we don't want that acorn to just fall straight down. We want that acorn to kind of, go at an angle. So I'm going to go to the acorn. I'm actually going to go to the acorn prefab. I'm going to turn off gravity on that acorn. Okay? Now what I'm going to do is when I create that new acorn, I'm going to grab its rigid body component and I'm going to set its velocity right on there. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to go new acorn.get component. I want to get the rigid body component. Now, if I want to do things with this, I got to store it in a variable. Okay, so let's go acorn rigid body. Now that I've got this nice rigid body variable, I've got this rigid body component right here, it is in that variable right there, acorn RB. I can press dot and I can look for things like velocity, okay? And I can set that. So what do I set it to? Well, we want something that is going to kind of be vaguely, down in this direction, right? We've got our camera. It's kind of looking down this direction, which is down on the y-axis and forward on the z-axis. So it's going to be something like, 0 on the x-axis. On the y-axis, it's going to be down. So negative 1, and then on the z-axis, 1, let's say. That is kind of a 45-degree angle downward. Let's multiply this by, how about 10? Okay, that's going to be the velocity. And that's a good start. And then I'll show you a really cool thing we can do in just a moment. Okay? So let's go ahead and click here. See what happens? There you go, right? It's not coming straight out of the camera, though. It's kind of got an angle that kind of takes it over the center of my screen, okay? So it's a little bit off. It's also too slow. I want something that's faster than this. So I'm going to create a variable here. Let's call this float acorn movement speed. I'm going to make this like 20, okay? I'm going to make this like 20. Let's organize our code a tiny bit. Okay. I'm going to call this spawn acorn, and I'm going to call this the launch. Okay. So I'll use this acorn movement speed, and instead of the 10, I'll also make it 30. And I don't want to use this as a direction, okay? This direction is just not quite good enough. What I want instead is to get the vector coming out of our camera, okay? If you press the X key, okay, you will switch from local coordinate space to global. We want local, okay? And local is going to show us this blue vector that is perfect. The blue vector is coming right out of our view frustum, and this is the perfect direction for us to move. So how do we use it? Well, here's how we can use it. I'm going to create a new variable called vector. Let's call this acorn direction. And how can I get that blue vector? Well, I'm going to do this camera.main to get that main camera. Then I'm going to go transform. Instead of doing position, I'm going to do forward. Forward is that blue vector. The y vector is the up vector, and the red vector coming out the right side, here's the right vector, okay? I want the forward vector, that blue vector, and then I'm going to use this acorn direction instead of this right here, this one we were manually creating. We're kind of just guessing. And now we're going to have these acorns flying hopefully right out the center of our camera view, okay? So let's go. I'm going to press the acorn button. Boom, there we go. And it goes out, and boom, it hits our character actually. So it's perfect, okay? So let's go over here to our little acorn, our little squirrel friend, okay? I'm going to go and launch that acorn, and boom, like that. All right. Now, I would say you probably want to make this go even faster. Like, I don't know, maybe not 30, but like 300, okay? Let's see how fast this goes. I'm guessing it's going to look like a bullet. Okay, here we go, and there we go. Wow. Yeah, so that's moving super fast, and just goes flying, right? And then flying into the air. And so we have a pretty cool situation, all right, where we now have these squirrels moving around in our game. Well, not moving, but our squirrels can take damage, right? They can get hit. We can launch acorns. We can spawn them. We can give them a direction to fly in. Now, just another reminder, all of this you're probably going to want to do in that interaction scene, because that, per the game's design, is where you're going to be actually throwing acorns and dealing with squirrels, okay? But for demonstration purposes, it was nice to get this all working in the map view, okay, as well. So anyway, let's check all our prefabs, make sure they're all set up. Good, this acorn is all set up. Let's make this squirrel has everything. Destroy when touch acorn. We need to make sure we push that to to our prefab. Okay, otherwise we'll have a bug. We'll spawn in more squirrels. They won't have that component. The acorns won't do anything to them. Okay, and good. All right. Does anyone have any comments or questions on any of this? Okay. So what I want to do, we've got about 30 minutes left. I want to really quickly look up to see if I can get this rig associated with this squirrel right here. I think sometimes this can happen when you've got objects that when you've got many different ones. Can I join them? Join them, shift join, alt join, no, parent. Oh, they did join. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, can I unparent? Yeah, clear parent. Oh goodness. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's clear parent and keep transformation, and then let's join this guy with this guy if I can. Okay, I think that's all good now. Now can I parent? Let's go do. Click, and automatic waits. No, it doesn't like it. Let's see. I think there's an issue where there are too many vertices overlapping. So I think I need to do something about that, but I will in a bit. So in any case, I'm going to turn the music on. I'm going to spend about 5 minutes trying to get this rig to work for you. And then I'll go ahead and walk around, okay? We can do some extra office hours, or you can peace out a bit early, okay? We will see you on Wednesday for that next film, okay? You will learn about what it is on Wednesday, and that will be your chance to watch it if you want to. So, thanks all for coming. I'll turn some music on, and yeah, I'll start walking around in about 5 minutes, okay? See you then. Okay. Okay, I think I got it. I had to merge a lot of vertices. I think there was something wrong with the topology of the character, preventing it from being from Bones having those vertices kind of weight painted properly onto them. But yeah, we can now do things like I can make it wiggle its nose if I want to, right? Pretty easily. Its ears, maybe, let's see here. Oh. Right? I can do things with its tail. Well, maybe not that. Let's see. Okay. This character, this model, wasn't really made to be animated in this fashion, so it looks a little bit kind of crusty. But we do now have the ability to do things, right? Make its tail quite a bit bigger if we want to. Probably make its nose, let me see. Make its nose kind of, oh, that's terrifying. Oh, now it's like a hippo squirrel. Oh, goodness. That actually looks kind of awesome, I think. Yeah, I kind of like that. Looks like it's got one fang kind of coming out the bottom here. Okay, let's fix up the squirrel here. Okay, can I remember how to do, let's see here. Let's do, okay, let's come over here. 40. Okay. And just that. 60, and then 100. Okay. 20, and then back to 0. Okay. $140. Okay. Yep. There's a cute little squirrel animation looking around. Aw. Looking for an acorn, maybe. A little bit creepy how the head is like stapled onto the tail, right? Little bit weird. Okay. But yeah, kind of cool. All right. Anyway. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk around. Let me know if you have any issues. And everyone who's watching online, I will see you later. Okay? Take care.